Hey, we late, but we all here now.
Mhm.
Now I know you guys don't know where this conversation came about, so let me break down where this conversation came from. I was in the gym approximately maybe 2, 3 weeks ago when I said it's time for us to assemble again, and some knucklehead said online coaching does not work because your coach is not physically here and cannot help you progress. And I told them my coach took a guy who said approximately 3 years ago now that I would not swap or deadlift, and on the platform I hit a 474. So how does not online coaching doesn't work? Some people are so good at what they do that they can break down what you're doing wrong from a video. But thank you for being so stupid because this is a great topic. Now, before I let you guys talk, could everybody just break down your credentials? I don't want nobody to assume I just run three random people on my podcast that don't know shit about what they're talking about. So everybody can feel free to throw out their credentials if they choose to.
I've been coaching for about 10 years, ever since I left the Marine Corps. I have been certified through every major organization: NSAM, ISSA, NSCA, um, ACE, uh, and I have thoughts on that. But as far as credentials go, I'm listed as an elite trainer with some of those organizations. I take uh, the learning process very seriously, so I have kind of a voracious appetite for the literature, and I'm constantly looking into what does what and why and how. And I got about 10 years experience, and had the opportunity and the privilege to help hundreds, if not thousands, of people at this point.
All right. I'm not a coach. I am a lifter, but if we want to go credentials, two-time USPA North American champ, multiple Canadian national podiums.
Oh,
And
Canada.
for a good stretch, I was one of the top 20 masters lifters in the world between 2020 and 2022 for my age and weight class. That's a couple years back, but I mean, my credentials all stem from lifting. I've been in the game for years. And in terms of the general fitness industry experience, I'm more front office. I am a referee and an official in powerlifting leagues and meet directing and that side of the business. But not the coaching business. But I'd say my front office and lifting experience, and I have been coached this whole time, both online and in person. So as a lifter that dedicated a decade of his life to the game, so both sides of the fence. But I am not a coach on this particular issue.
I have a NASM personal training certification. I do personal training. I also compete in powerlifting. I have 3 national records in powerlifting and 10 California state records in powerlifting. Going back to nationals in October. And that's all thanks to the coach Calkin, Justin Calkin. Once I started training with him, and he's given me online coaching, I've been able to achieve most of my goals, and we're going for more. So, yeah, it's been a huge factor in my powerlifting career, and it's also helped me prevent future injuries because I was getting pretty badly beat up. But now I have a really good coach looking after me, and he's able to pull me back when I'm pushing myself too hard. So
And first thing I'd like to throw out there is why do you think or why do you think people believe online coaching does not work?
For the same reason that they don't think that diets work, because so often they're correct. Um, Online coaching presents its own challenges compared to in-person coaching. You don't have to worry about being touched inappropriately by your personal trainer or your coach, but you do have to worry about how well they understand the issues that you're going through, and to what extent that they can help you with session to session motivation and a bunch of other factors. But for the same reason that most people who attempt a diet fall back or fail ultimately or regain that weight, most personal trainers at one point or another, due to the systems in place, due to their personal approach, the low bar of entry to be able to call yourself a personal trainer, most of them fail ultimately to achieve the goals that they promise or that their client was expecting when they went to them. And that is the case for every coach in their journey, but especially online, because that distance provides a certain amount of insulation from the consequences, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier to quit on each other, or for communication to break down, or for something to be lost in translation. So there's a lot of opportunities to fail. So there are a lot of failures, and that is the experience that a lot of people have. And testimonials and successes is not enough to outweigh that. I have a lot of people that I've helped, and they will swear by that, and they will tell you their stories. V Shreds has a lot of people who will tell you that he helped and changed their life and saved their life, and they're the reason. He's the reason that they're in the best shape of their life at 52 instead of 20. So we don't have an effective mechanism to say, I really know my shit aside from word of mouth and aside of showing you. And there's a lot of people who say the same things that we do that didn't learn the lessons, didn't fix their mistakes, didn't take accountability for when they screwed up or failed a client and learned from it, and are still shit trainers. And they're out there saying the very same things that we are. And it's really hard to tell the difference. So I think it's fair for somebody to walk up to you and say, online coaches suck and they don't work. That's probably their experience and the experience of most of the people they know.
Ryan, Jack, feel free to jump in.
So my experience with my coach, who I've been with about 4 years. Before that, I was with I had an online coach, and he was great. He got me in good shape, and he kept my diet on point, and I learned a lot of the basics from him, and it was really helpful. But as a power lifter, I knew that I needed like that specific powerlifting critiques and training, and things like form and technique really needed to be zeroed in on. And so my first powerlifting meet, the guy who won it was Justin Calkin, and he was so nice to me because I was just a ball of nerves. I'm like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And I remember I was in line with him, and he's like, "What are your openers?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm not doing anything." And I'm like, "I'm doing such little." He's like, "Stop." He's like, "Stop." He's like, "What are your openers?" And I like told him my openers, and he was like talking me through everything. And he was just very like kind, taking his time between his warm ups because he was competing to help me with my warm ups. And I just had such a positive experience from that I hit him up and I'm like, "Hey, do you think you could coach me?" He won the whole meet. And I was like, "Hey, do you think you could coach me?" And he's been coaching me ever since. He's been great for, technique wise, really watching, because I sent him a video. He really zeroes in on the things that I need to do better in my lifting. He's able to zero in on the accessories that are going to help the lifts that I need help with. And so, yeah, it's great to have someone with so much knowledge, whether they're there with you in person or they're online. That knowledge does translate, and it has for me. Um, but I do understand when people say you can't get everything out of someone seeing a video online compared to working with you one on one, because I've also had that experience where Justin has been trying to drill something into me and through the video, but then when I come and see him in person, like when I visit Vegas and I go to the gym up there and see him in person, he's like, "Oh, now I'm able to see it, like now I'm face to face, I'm able to see what exactly you're doing, because you can't catch all angles on a video." So on I he's been able to do a lot with me online, but I also do hear the criticism about working one on one with someone, because sometimes there's things that you can't see in a video. But overall, the online coaching experience has really been great for me, and it's really saved me a lot of injuries, because I was a real ego lifter before I had a powerlifting coach, and he really pulls me back. I'm an emotional person, so he's able to help me not spiral out of control when something doesn't go my way, and keep me on track and keep me mentally focused. And when I go to a big meet, he's there to handle me. And I feel like whenever he's in my presence, I always perform like 10 times better. And I feel confident. I feel more confident. It's a weird thing. It's like when I know he's there, I know I'm going to do great. So it's been largely beneficial to me to have a online powerlifting coach.
Ryan?
All right. In a world where everything is equal and the online or in-person coach, in the scope of this discussion, Kevin, not a world where everything is equal, right? Where whether online or in person, the coach you're dealing with is the appropriate cost for their education and their goodness. We'll call them a good coach. Everybody, if it's $100 a month good coach, that's awesome. If it's $300 a month good coach, that's awesome. We're talking everyone's putting up their end. I'm going to go with in-person coaching is better. If you can get it from the appropriate person at the appropriate pay level that you can afford and their skill level, it's not a question. It's better. The end. Dot, dot. Too bad. So sad. Now,
Agreed.
yeah, the end. You're right, Jack. Looking at people, having that bro down there or that person there with you and talking shit out and all, better. But not everyone can do it. Not everyone can afford it. Lots of different things. Now, I actually do think online coaching fails 98% of people. I don't blame that on the coach. I blame that on the person. You need to be a certain kind of person to be coached online. You need to be a self-motivator. You got to be a self-starter. You can't get attaboys every day when you're grinding in the gym at 6:30 at night or 6:30 in the morning off a spreadsheet from your online coach. They're not there to go rah, Jack. They're not there to go, Ryan, freaking pick up your, hit that lift. Right? I don't give a shit that you're hungover, this, that, the other thing. You're hitting that goddamn lift. So it has to be on the person. And in my opinion, the more skilled you are as a lifter, the better the value proposition becomes from an online coach. I've been doing this for a long time, man. My form is dialed. Of course, it's never perfect, and I screw up and I do this. But if I sent the video to Kevin there, he'd go, look, oh, yeah, there's your little hitch there, Ryan. But other than that, it looks fine because I know it's fine, man. I've been squatting, right or dead, you know what? So I get great benefits from online coaching or the value proposition, but I'm a self-starter. I don't need motivation. I'm disciplined and my form is already tight. You see where I'm going at with that? I think rookie lifters, first off, I think coaching is the single best thing you can spend money on in the game of powerlifting. Don't spend money at GNC. Don't do any of that. No subs, no nothing. You find a 1, 2, 3, whatever your budget a month coach is, you will get more gains than that, even from gear, if you're just putting needles in your ass with no freaking plan, right? Like I advocate for it for everyone. I have been coached my powerlifting season every time for 12 years. I coach myself in the off season or I'm dicking around taking some time off. But then again, that goes back to me being a motivated, self-starting, decent form, right? But when I started out, I did have a little lifting crew and an in-person coach. Now this coach he moved to a different town. He ended up being my coach for a number of years online after. But he actually started as my in-person here and there coach because we went to the same gym. That was invaluable for me when I was learning. Now, this is a long time ago, right? And he'd be able to see my form. But now I am the perfect online coach customer because, and I've had bad online coaches and good online coaches, but I put up my end of the bargain of being on point, on time with the conference calls, doing the lifts, sending the vids, doing whatever. And I've had some winners and losers. So I do think most people fail with online coaching, but that's them, not the coach. In a world where everyone's the coach is putting up their end of the bargain too, we'll say, based on their skill or value level. I think rookies should start with in-person coaches. And then as you move in the game, absolutely. Celebrity coaches, niche, like if you have a certain problem, get a squat coach. I've hired bodybuilding online coaches for my off season to shred up a little. I've hired different kind of rehab coaches for different things when I had an injury. I've used a dozen online coaches at this point through my career, main couple of them that I go back to for my powerlifting season, but I've employed others and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's great. No problems. But I can see where the fail is.
I think for people that are in the masters division, above 30s, above 40s, that have lives that, have to work odd hours. Me as a personal trainer, I have to take whatever hours I can get. If I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get a client at 6 a.m. and, fill up my day however it is, that's why I got to do it. And I think that's why online is more beneficial for people that are older that, have these busy schedules so they can fit in their workouts when they need to, and they don't necessarily need someone hovering over them. As a younger lifter, I mean, you should probably start off with someone one-on-one, to really like look 360 degrees around you, to see your form, to see what's going on, to keep you motivated and to stay on top of you and to instill the foundation that you need. But I think as an older lifter, you kind of have that discipline ingrained. So you can, keep up with the program, and you don't need the extra motivation and that sort of thing. So I think for especially masters lifters, that online is probably more beneficial than it is for, a junior or sub junior lifter.
Good
If I
points.
can, for a second, I want to expound on what Ryan said because he outlined it beautifully. But I also want to expand what we're talking about here just a little bit. Most of the conversation we've talked about in the context of powerlifting, most of the online coaching has nothing to do with powerlifting. Most of it is people just trying to get into shape and
Mm.
whatnot. The point that it's an excellent point about logistics and whatnot, and having um, all of that experience. You're absolutely right, my dude. It is a logistical nightmare to plan your day for all in-person training, and it is a lot easier on everybody involved. Maybe not more effective. It's a lot easier for people to to do the online thing where they can touch base when they get the workout in and whatnot. But what Ryan ultimately got down to is that the people who are going to get the most out of it are the people who have internal motivation. Um, and that's not the people who are most likely to reach out and ask for online training. So the folks who are
General
most attracted
population. Yeah.
to online training are the least prepared, and that leads to a lot of the issues. But the only point I would push back on is that it's predominantly the person's fault and not the coach's fault. They have to bring that piece. They do. But if you're an online coach who is worth your ass, you know that, and you have to help them understand that and have the hard conversation if they're not that kind of person. I have two different scenarios. I've got Julian Sirkin, who has competed at the national level. He's extremely strong. I was not the best coach for him, but I was better than the coach I sent him to, who is actually a record holder, actually a competitor, and actually somebody that we all know here, Steve Shaw. Steve Shaw is a better powerlifting coach than I am, perhaps in person. He was the worst possible coach for Julian, period. He, in my opinion, with the way he chose to interact, failed Julian. And if somebody with as much less experience that I have than Steve can flex to him in the right way and get that kind of performance out of him, that's not on Julian. That was on Steve. But Steve's an amazing coach, and I will still recommend people go see him. I will still send them and say, hey, this is an outstanding coach. He was just the wrong coach for Julian. But then I have Tessa, my friend of 40 years, and I dropped her because she wouldn't do a damn thing unless I was on the phone with her walking her through it. I love her. I want to help. I cannot help her because she will not help herself. So we tried it. I tried to manage it, realized it wasn't going to work. We are no longer working together. And that's a hard decision to make. And I just don't think that people who are motivated first, foremost, second most, and third most by how much they can make from online coaching actually give a shit about um, having a long-term effect. Because here's the real where the real money is made in online coaching. The first 3 months, you get someone on to sign on for 3 months, 100, 200, $300 a month, and you say this is where we're going to be. By the end of it, it's you just do what I say. And when they mess up any step, when they don't check in, when they get frustrated, instead of helping them through that frustration, teaching them how to get back on the horse when they fail, because they will fail, that client goes away thinking that they failed, and they're like $900 poorer, you're $900 richer, and you're on to the next person, and you only share your success stories. And that's how we get people like V Shreds and all of these folks who lose 80 pounds and decide that they're going to be a personal trainer, or who compete one time and decide that they're going to be a coach in bodybuilding or in powerlifting or in strongman. We see it all the damn time. That's the so to put it short, the people who would get the most value out of online coaching are probably the least likely to seek it out. But it is a shared burden, in my opinion, of the failure of the current system and how it's working because of the motivations people who are going into coaching, their failure to um, educate and uh, regulate, monitor the expectations, manage. That's the word I was looking for. Manage the expectations, and a failure of motivation on the individual to follow through and to be willing to fail and to be willing to get up and go again.
Good point. Now, Kevin, you got to talk about all your clients now. You left one out. So how bad do I get on your nerves?
You don't get on my nerves at all. So, like, I have a squirrel brain. I have a lot of brain damage from the Marine Corps. I am very open about this. Many concussions, and I have terrible short-term memory. So we'll talk about a thing, and I'll forget to do the thing, and I need to be harassed. I need it. I ask for it. And that if I have a client that can work with that, that can poke me and say, hey, you didn't send me that thing yet. We got it all day long. We're going to get through it. You're going to go to nationals. We're going to have a great time. Um, but the people that hasn't worked out for, I didn't properly manage. I wasn't upfront and say, hey, this is a limitation that I have. I've hurt some feelings. I've really let some people down. I was very late with a lot of programs, and I left a lot of sour um, taste in people's mouths and ruined their experience for what could have been a success story with me or with someone else. But they're less likely to even try now because I failed them so hard. But you don't get on my nerves at all, dude. Like come on now. I'm not subtle when I'm annoyed. I let you know.
Hey, that's always happy to know. And I do need to remind you about something later. My next question is,
Your reminder was the reminder. I remembered, and I'll get on that after the show.
my next question is, why do people assume, at least with me, it always seems like somebody want to come up and like this random person can do a better job than your online coach, and I'm just like, that is not how the way the world works. So why do people assume that some random guy who's maybe strong at goals and may can put up some impressive weight can coach you at a meet or through success?
That oh,
About themselves or about someone they know?
Be some random dude who went to jail or some other random person. It just be some random ass person, and you're like, I'm good. I have my coach. I'm perfectly fine with my coach.
Jack, you were gonna say something. Go ahead, man.
this is
Oh,
the uncle's brother's cousin scenario here. Uh, in my day job as a financial advisor, I'm a financial coach. So I guess I do coach for a living, but I coach money. That's my job, 9 to 5. And I got a degree, and I'm working on my next degree in finance, kind of thing, right? And I talk to people, and I give them financial advice, and I do this, and I tell them to do something, and they respond to me, well, my uncle's brother's cousin said this investment scheme was the way. And I'm like, well, what does he do for a living? He's a drywaller. Well, why are you getting financial advice from him? You see these paintings on my wall? They're degrees. If I need something about drywall, I'm going to talk to your uncle's cousin's brother. But why are you getting financial advice from a broke drywaller? People always think that their buddy or their this or their that is better at something than anything in the discussion. I don't know where the psychology of that comes from, but jokingly in my lunchroom, we call that, oh, his uncle's brother's cousin said, do this. And that's why he's broke now. Like people don't necessarily recognize experts or whether it's conversation. I'm not sure where that thing comes from, but I do deal with it
I
all the time.
think I think it comes from they think they know what worked for them, so they think it works for everyone. A lot of people think one size fits all for whether it's, fitness or, financial advice. They think that their personal experience trumps actual expertise. And I think that's where the problem lies. And, I think it's a lot of social media too, that gets people's confidence up, way up, thinking that they are the experts of everything. They Googled it, so they know more than you, or they saw some study, so obviously they know more than the expert. But yeah, I think that a lot of it's their personal experience trumps actual expertise.
Good point.
This is a noted behavior that is ubiquitous and pervasive in society, and it's not limited to coaching. It's how marketing used to work before social media was a thing. Appeal to the familiar, and the familiar has more inherent and tacit trust than um, expertise. And it's not the threat of expertise; it's that that guy who's an expert is not even a real person. My uncle's brother's cousin's former roommate is a real person who had a good experience. And we as a society, we as creatures are more likely to, we're biologically and societally programmed to look to others and learn vicariously through them. Oh, this is a person who I have a positive mental association with. They had good experience with X, X equals good. And that's how that tends to go. So when somebody walks up to you, Norris, and says, hey, my cousin would be like a great coach for you. He's wicked strong. He's got like a 385-pound deadlift and he can bench 225. Like they're coming from a place where they believe that is good because that's their experience and this is a person they know. I don't really exist to them. I am a mere concept to them. So if you were to hold, I'm a sheet of paper somewhere. So obviously the guy they know is better than some stupid sheet of paper. And
Now,
that's
it
just the way
leads
that
me
we
to
work.
say, when they say, "Where's your coach?" I'm like, if I bring Kevin in here, you guys will walk out in shame. If I
I
ever had an opportunity to bring any of my powerlifting friends in here,
we
you
should have a
guys should be
deadlift.
ashamed of yourselves. If I brought
We
them
should have
in
a deadlift
here,
party. I would love that.
it would not be funny. So you should be thankful that he's not here. You be thankful. You should drop down on your knees and be thankful that the steroid junkie ex-prisoner is here right now and Kevin's somewhere in Maine chilling.
Man, I gotta go to your
Yeah.
I gotta go to your gym, Norris, with all these junkies and prison inmates. I gotta go there.
I go to
I'm
goals, my
excited.
guy. I go to goals, and then it pissed me off because then I'm like, I'm watching these people squat, and they're going like 90, or they're just barely there, and then they think they know about the sport of powerlifting. I'm just like, y'all don't know shit.
Yeah, really the 2 points on that particular question is one, it's never going to stop because it's human nature, and two, it's not coming from a bad place, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I never take it personally.
I take it personally because it pisses me off sometimes. I'd have had Kevin. I'd have had 20-minute conversations on my workout about whether or not my coach is a good coach. I was like, I didn't have people that I trained with in this gym in person, and they didn't get me to where I needed to go. They got me hurt. I've been with Kevin now less than a year. Now I think we're going on 1 year, and
Yep.
we already got third. We already made it to drug testing nationals. Got third place at drug testing nationals, and on our way to North American championships, and that's less than a year.
But again, that's like giving your GPS credit for a long road trip. Bro,
You
you
did
know
the
I
work,
fucking
Norris. You
yeah.
did the work, Norris.
I may phys- I may physically be there, but it's nothing to me more important than having someone who's mentally there. Now,
It's
my
great to
I
have
next
the
agree
thing,
by five
guidance.
percent.
yeah,
I
I
agree
will throw this out there.
105.
I guess having somebody who or is online only, the only difficult part is when you really have to do a difficult, heavy lift. You don't have that person there. And for us antisocial powerlifters, how do you get around that when you don't have that person physically there and you know you got to do a crazy, crazy, dangerous lift?
So
Pray.
one, we don't do crazy dangerous lifts. That's stupid.
I
Um,
do.
Shh, kids are watching. I'm sure at least one kid is watching. uh, you have to teach the person to believe in themselves, and you've seen that in at least for the way that I approach it, because there's so many good ways to approach it. The way that I approach it is we give you little lessons that you're stronger than you think you are, to trust yourself, to listen to your body, and most of those work out. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you show up and you don't even have 80% of what you could normally do. But that is almost always for an unrelated reason. Slept poorly, and you know this to be your experience because you know what I'm talking about. You know when I'm talking about. Every time you've had a difficulty, it's been because of a stressor, or not because you're not strong enough. You know you're strong enough. Something else is getting in the way, and keeping people within the guardrails of the upper end of their performance, consistently building that confidence. That is hard work, but it's the only way to do it at a distance. My job isn't really to teach your muscles to be stronger, it's to teach you to be consistent and have the confidence that you will achieve what you want to in a reasonable time frame. I change variables, but most of those variables are around making sure that you get the work in consistently. And occasionally I murder you with a volume block, but that's over now. We're on to better things. Um, but yeah, it's about confidence and consistency. It's not so much, there's no magic program. Like in every one of my programs, I put the line somewhere, no movement is sacred. There is so much overlap between similar movements that challenge you through a similar range of motion that you will make progress, right? If you are at a point where you need ultra specific movements to better yourself, you don't need me as a coach. You need a motherfucker you're paying $1,000 a month for. You need somebody you're paying considerable more expertise who has achieved everything that you want to achieve. Those people don't watch YouTube videos to learn how to squat. Those people don't, they're past that. They don't need that, right? So for the overwhelming majority of people, it isn't about some magic rep set, number of reps in a set, rest times. It's all going to work to a degree. It's just having enough specificity to be able to apply it to your given sport, competition, hobby, what have you.
I always have the cousin's uncle whenever they give me critiques, usually on Facebook because I have my own gym,
Always.
or on Instagram, is that their suggestion to improve my bench is always, dude, all you have to do is 275 5x5. And I'm like, thank you. My coach has a program for me, but I'll consider that 275 5x5. And I've heard that 3 times from different people. It's always the same shit. It's always like, dude, just do 275 5x5. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Appreciate
That
it.
was my first social media death threat. Saying that 5 repetition sets aren't magic. That was the first time on social media somebody threatened to kill me.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
I was just going so the original, we got off base. There's some good stuff there. Your question there, Norris, is how do you prep yourself for a dangerous lift in the online coaching world or whatnot, right? Did I miss that?
Yeah, because okay, perfect example. We all know I could do 315 by myself for 3 times sometimes, and sometimes you may only got one. You may even ain't got that one. So when you're antisocial and you have an online coach, what do you do?
That case there, that's one of the cases there where unequivocally the in-person coach is better, of course, right? It just doesn't matter. And that's where the person, you, the lifter, has to nut up and make it happen. Like myself, I train mostly alone, just the same, no spotters, no nothing, and I'm doing full preps. And for me personally, it's funny, it's like David Goggins videos, nose torque, slapped myself across the face, and I've never really missed a lift. I've been hung over in the dark, no sleep, no nothing. I own those weights. I will break my spine to hit that squat if it's on the spreadsheet. Now, I'm not saying that's good or that's the approach, but that's where online coaches need to work with me. If they put it on the spreadsheet, it's getting done. Even if I limp up to the squat rack with a broken hand and a hangover, even if it's to my own detriment. It's literally Goggins in one earphone and death metal in the other, and it's like, okay, and I'm walking up to that deadlift and I'm going to hit it.
But I think another thing to add to that too is just knowing how to bail out safely and having the appropriate safeties. Because I failed a lift recently. I was exhausted. I failed a squat, but I didn't bail the weight forward like I see some of these people online that are gonna kill themselves. I just had the safeties up and I lowered it down and I threw it off my back. And I don't know why a lot of people don't know that. Strong people. I've seen strong people with over 400 bail forward with their weight. And I'm like, oh my God, I almost witnessed someone die there.
It's funny that you say that because I bail forward in a power rack on purpose. Like in the appropriate safety setting, in a full squared off power rack, I absolutely fall forward. And if the safeties are caught, now I understand in different racks, there's different situations, but knowing how to bail and mentality is the answer to that question there, Norris, like of what do you do if your online coach isn't there and you got to hit something hard, right? But I think it's mentality myself is the main thing. And that's where the online in-person thing, we can talk about bailing lifts. That's good technique. Every lifter who lifts heavy for them should know how to bail a lift. And their online coach or their in-person coach should be saying, so what happens if you freaking crater this squat or this deadlift or this bench? What are you going to do? Show me. You know what I mean? I want to see you bail a lift. You know, right? Like those kinds of things should be trained in far more in a powerlifting sphere, bodybuilding sphere, maybe less because you're doing more handleable weights for longer reps and things like that, right? But bailing a lift is crucially important. And I think it's undertrained in people because, yeah, I see those online gym fails, all that. And I'm like, and people are like, oh, don't train alone. And I'm like, I've trained alone for a decade, you know, and I'm still here. I'm laughing with you. And I've had a horrible run of injuries, but none of them are from me bailing lifts, you know, right? So
I've specifically made videos teaching people how to use a variety of different safety mechanisms and how to do it for the bench and for the squat specifically, because it's not covered enough, not just by online coaches, but in-person coaches, by people who are going to, it is so clear from the number of gym fail videos or the gym fails that I've seen in person that this is a dramatically underused, understood, uh, undertrained skill.
Yeah, because I believe recently, one of the best powerlifters in the world, Jose Oliveira, had a scary bailout, and he almost had to dump it on his brother. So it can
Wow.
Oh, I
happen
saw
to
that.
it can
The
happen.
900 for two, and he missed the second one.
Yes, and it was a scary bailout, and he almost had to dump it. He told his brother, "Step back," because it's not going to go. So you never know. So that's why I'm like, you never know when you may have to bail it out. So, and then you had that one guy who died, what, like last year, who had
The
Yeah,
Brazilian
four.
power or Brazilian bodybuilder. Yeah.
Yes,
He
yes,
bailed forward. Yeah. He's
yeah. I
ruptured his
believe my
spine.
squat safety video was in response to that situation.
Mm.
yeah. Everybody made a video pretty much saying exactly where Jack and Ryan said, throw it backwards. You can't hurt the ground. You can hurt yourself.
That's fair. No, really important points. Just to reiterate that if you're going to do online coaching, that you choose well, that you be willing to have a hard conversation with your coach or your client about whether or not this is working. Uh, but make sure you understand the value that you're going to get out of it, because and the motivation that you yourself are going to need to bring in order to make it successful. I think that should be a discussion that is requisite before you move forward. And if you're hiring somebody to be your coach online, I don't care how famous they are. If they are not willing to set aside the time to go over that, then they do not give a shit about you. Maybe it has a consultation fee associated with it, whatever. Like, figure something out that's fair. But if they won't sit down for at least 30 minutes and go, hey, this is what you're going to need to do. This is what I expect. This is what I'm going to provide. This is how it's going to work. Let's set up our check-ins. This is how we're going to do it. This is what you provide me. This is what I provide you. Then they legitimately don't give a shit, and they are farming you for your money. So if you don't have that bare minimum, lowest expectation of interaction and exchange, they're not a good coach. I don't care who it is. I don't care who you name. If they don't do that bare minimum, they suck.
Good point. My last, I guess, serious business question is, I guess for coaching or training, how annoying is it for people to keep on giving you suggestions when you have someone to guide you? Because for me personally, it's getting annoying, especially when I'm like, dude, mind your business and stay in your lane.
I mean, I don't really find it annoying because at the end of every one of those conversations, they're the one that ends up embarrassed. Not because I'm smart, it's just because I have a specific reason that I can articulate as to why I do things. Say if somebody told me to squat high bar, they're like, why are you always squatting low bar? That's going to be harder on your lower back. Yeah, I agree with you, but I have a ruptured C6, C7 disc in my neck, and that's exactly where the bar goes if I were to squat high bar. And when I put the bar there, even with no weight, it shuts off all of the signals to my left arm and it goes limp, and I can't control the weight. So it's actually way more dangerous for me to squat high bar. Even if it wasn't such a profoundly necessary reason, even if it was just preference or what I was well trained in, that's all you have to say. And they're like, well, I think, well, I appreciate that, but that's not something I'm interested in doing. If you're okay with just telling people no and shutting it down, they're the one who's left sputtering and looking like a jackass who gave their unsolicited opinion. It might have come from a good place, but an insult is just like a gift, and criticism is just like an insult and a gift. If you don't accept it, it's not yours. It's still theirs. So I don't worry about it.
Mm. Jack?
Just go on top of what you were saying, Kevin, is I think a lot of people too don't realize how strong the back is and how flexible the back is. Because will be like, oh my gosh, your back isn't perfectly straight while you're doing that lift. You shouldn't lift so much weight. It's like your back is meant to bend. Your back should be strong enough to hold a lot of weight. Your back is built for that. And that's what, I think it's, just an old school mentality of things, that there's a lot of things in the past that we were taught about lifting and fitness that have turned out to be 100% wrong. And it's going to continue to be that way. We're going to evolve, in the lifting
That's never going to
community.
stop, Jack.
Yeah. It's,
Never.
and like things that we do now are probably going to be considered, not the best. 10 years from now, there's going to be better techniques, and better ways to do things. So I think a lot of people are just set in that old school mentality, and they don't understand the physiology of the body, that the body is able to maintain and do a lot more, than we're led to believe.
Ryan?
I don't mind random critiques, random comments, random anything. Of course, 98% of them bounce off. Or I do what Kevin said and say, yeah, no, thanks, man. Like, I've been doing this way, or this is why, or whatnot, or here's a counter argument. But I have picked up some grains of knowledge from internet bullshit randos. So I can't unequivocally say, when I post a lift and I get, 10 stupid comments, that the 11th one isn't a kernel of wisdom. So I don't really ever try and shut them down. I often humor them, or if it's something way off base, I push back gently to see where they got that information or what's that. I like to engage online with, the people I'm engaging with and stuff. So I don't mind. I've found the greatest knowledge kernel that I've passed on to others from random internet bullshit fucking people that might have not even known what they were regurgitating, but the person they're regurgitating it from gave them sage wisdom or something like that, right? I just can't say no to learning. So, yeah, 98% of it's going to be bullshit. Or like, I've been doing this for a long freaking time, man. I've been competing all over the world, whatever. Right? Yeah, awesome. Do my 275 5x5 bench. Thanks, bro. Thanks. But
I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna switch my whole program up just to do 275.
And then, but I've had this time where some randos come on one of my videos. He's like, I'm just making something up. Move your elbow a quarter inch the other way. And I'm like, wait a second, I do it. I'm like, holy shit, it worked, or whatever. So I made that up. But I mean, like, that has absolutely happened to me where I've had.
Bryce from Calgary Barbell did that to me.
Whom?
Bryce from Calgary Barbell.
Well, that's one of the best lifters in the world, I suppose. That's not a rando internet advice.
Okay.
So.
All right. He gave me one comment. He said, he suggested I move my hands out one finger. And I've been following Bryce for a long time. I have mad respect for him. But the internal resistance I had to that was like, motherfucker, I know what my grip distance should be, what my grip width on the bench press should be. Lo and behold, one Monday later, I try it, and my all-time best pause bench goes from 385 to 410.
Damn.
Like that. And it's recorded. It's on the internet. You can watch the damn thing. And I tagged him in it. And he's like, haha, told you. Like, not even repentant about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does happen sometimes.
That is totally happened to me. It's happened to you. I don't want to count that one because Bryce, like up here in Canada, man, that guy's he's
a big deal.
Bryce, right? He's Canadian royalty in this sport, man,
All right, fair enough. Bad example, but
the example was good. Had you not said it was Bryce Krawczyk from Calgary Barbell, that's like Louis Simmons came back from the dead to give me a piece of advice.
I would actually be less inclined to take advice on mechanics from Louis Simmons than I would.
That's
a lot of people.
Totally fair. Just using him as a famous example, right?
Gotcha.
It's not quite the same thing as your uncle's brother's former roommate giving you an internet comment that sometimes oddly Hail Mary style has worked for me.
Uh, all right, my last statement slash question, because this has been blowing up off of TikTok. I know we have discussed it probably in the past, but hey, I don't know. I got the experts here, so I want to know, how difficult is it for the average gym goer or man, rando off the street, to bench 225?
225?
225, two wheels.
I know
Less
Ryan
than
knows the
1%.
statistics.
Less than 1% of 1% of 1% of the population can bench press 225. You are one of the strongest human beings on this earth if you can bench press 225. We have in this room, in this little virtual room, perception bias. We eat, breathe, live, and shit strong people. We see the NFL, we see powerlifters, we see Larry Wheels, we see Julius Maddox, we see this. We go to meets where people are benching 500-600 pounds. You forget the slice of the population or how niched out we are. There's 8 billion people. Half of them don't even get enough calories to possibly consider benching 225 in third world countries. Then there's half of those are women that's left, and then half of those are too old, too young, too small. Then we're narrowing it down. Only 30% of Americans hold a gym membership. How many of those even go regularly, and how many of those even do it? Like, that question is like pop psych 101, first year psychology, perception bias, I think, because like, you are a gangster if you can bench press 225. Like, if you set up a bench press in Times Square and put 225 on it, you could go all friggin' day before somebody can walk up and hit it. Let's be real here, right? Like,
To make myself feel better and to ground myself, every once in a while I'll go into a Planet Fitness and just get a workout in.
That's a cheap shot.
That's cold. That's cheap. Leave poor Planet Fitness alone, man.
I love what Ryan said, and I agree with it. So when I say there's a wrinkle that might come out sideways, because you're right when we talk about society and the general approach worldwide to health as it is. When we take a look at trained individuals who are training the bench press, that less than 1% of 1% skyrockets into the double digits.
Of course,
that's still not
absolutely.
a lot. It's still not a lot, but I'm hesitant to count all of the people who aren't even trying to do the thing into the discussion of how hard is it to accomplish the thing, because they're not even trying. So when we take a look at trained individuals who report whether or not, and it's self-reporting, they can bench 225, including women. It's not 25% of women, but it's about 25% of trained people total who respond that can bench 225 or more. And that's a significantly higher number. And you're still better than the vast majority of folks if you reach that level, and you should be very proud of your accomplishment. But I think we should be more careful, especially on TikTok, how we have that conversation, to not be kind of just glazing over and looking past the point where we're including the overwhelming majority of the population who's just not trying to reach that goal. Because
Hey,
potential
I even
versus
say,
currently can do are different conversations.
yeah, because a guy named PT Balls posted it on TikTok, and a lot of people disagreed with him. And I was like, facts. You know what I mean? It's rare that I'm like, 225, maybe not as rare these days. But when I said, hey, if you guys can really do it, won't you post a video and tag them on it? And that didn't happen. So out of the 700 comments this guy got, he might have got 5 videos of people actually pressing only two wheels. And I know for us, two wheels is just like the start of candy. But I was like, this is 100% facts. And I'm like, even 315, it's rare that I see people press three wheels. It's very rare.
I think all of that, like, bench press might not be the best one to use. For an example, if you want rarity, okay, a 315 squat below parallel. Because
Ryan, Jesse were rare.
Because see, once upon a time, the Pope used to fall into that category of, I can bench press all day. And I remember that when we first started knowing each other online, I'm like, so what can you squat? Long pause, ...
Pause is not in his squat.
And then you had to admit to me in public online that you hadn't trained legs since 1983 or something like that back in that day. Of course, I'm giving you a hard time.
I remember on this podcast where he said he was going to be a bench-only athlete, that he would never squat and deadlift.
I said it. Look at me now.
That's
How
absolutely.
things have changed. And that's why I'm just like, maybe online training does work, kids. Maybe, just maybe. That's the
Listen,
little small suggestions of Kevin
for
saying, "Hey, my guy, your hands are too wide. You may want to bring them closer to your knees and press your knees out." And it works effectively. So just maybe, just maybe. I mean,
from
who
where
am
you are
I?
now, though, Norris, your weight is considerably down from when you started, but you're much stronger. And even though you're dropping down, I think you should drop down to the next weight class. You haven't officially told me that that's what you're
Are you
doing.
going to go 100 kg?
I have one more set up. North American Championships is coming up soon, and I'm scheduled to be at 242 allegedly, but I won't be there. I'll probably be way under. Yeah, and then I'll be like 46 years old, and then I really have to consider, is it worth doing all the stuff we have to do to our bodies to lift this amount of weight? And if I decide it's worth it, I may do one at 100 kilo and see how I perform there, just to see how that's to play around with it. But I will be like 46 years old. At that point, what do you do with your fitness? No, what more can you do?
Well, we're about the same size, Norris, right? We were in the same weight class and all that. And I have to tell you, drop into the 100 kilo weight class while my total went down a little bit, made vast improvements on my life. So there's, and I'm what, a year older than you or something like that, or 2 years, but it made a great improvement on my daily life, dropping from 110 kilo class to 100 kilo class. Absolutely. So I know you're qualified. You got to watch that because you can't go in over or underweight. You got to stick at your weight class you qualified, and you got to dance with the girl that brung you. So you're a 110 kilo lifter in this run because you need to go to the next level up, right? So you stop thinking about cutting, stay at 110. But when you're done, when you're done, then keep eating to weigh in. Like, honestly, you should be 250, 255, and you water cut in the last 5 days to weigh 241.99999. But that's my approach to things. But right? But when you make that decision, like you said, it's already started. It's mulling in your mind. I absolutely advocate, because we're both the same size frame, and all I can say is, man, I feel so much better at 220. Or today I was 215, or I'm under that, but that's the injuries training. I'm trying to stay around this, and I just feel better, man. And my numbers absolutely dropped, but I actually think I could get. No, I probably can't, because I'm getting older too. But it wasn't, my drop in lifts was less by percent than the weight loss was. I don't know how to explain it. There's smarter people out there than me. You know what I mean? Like, my lips absolutely dropped.
Your dots probably.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like, it worked out for me. I feel 1,000% better dropping that 20 pounds because it was kind of fluffy. I have a question, though, I want to table for everybody on the original topic, because I want us all to talk about it, because it's something that I've heard 1,000 times. It's totally on the coaching thing. All of us hire coaches, right?
Yes.
All right. So I want a round table here, and I'll go last or whatever. So I'm posing the question. I'm taking your job for just 2 seconds here, Norris. What if you had no coach, no relationship, no nothing, you zero right now, and you had to look at a phone book or online, what would you look for in the coach you would hire? And why I want us to say that is for people that watching that to see 4 different perspectives on how to pick a coach, or why I would pick a coach being different than why you, Jack, or you, Kev, or you, Norris, would pick a coach. So none of us have coaches. How would you get a coach? What are you going to look for in a coach? Whoever can go first.
I'll go first. To be honest, if I had to go to 0-0, knowing everything I know now, I would need someone who can explain things on my level, be honest and upfront about where we're doing and where we're going with the coaching approach, and almost be harsh but kind at the same time. Hopefully that went through. I think we had a little interruption. Did you guys hear me?
I heard you. Yeah.
That was it. I need somebody who can be blunt and kind.
I personally would look at who they're coaching and the success stories of the people. If I had zero experience, because like I got my coach because I had experience with him,
Oh, Jack,
and
Jack,
like I felt a connection.
Jack, you
Go
can
ahead.
know what you know now. I just mean your coach, unfortunately, heaven forbid, passed away tomorrow. You need a new one.
Okay.
You can know what you know now. That's the part of this discussion. If we were out looking for coaches,
I would look at the athletes. I would look at the athletes and how well they perform, and I would see, like one coach that other than my coach that I'm really a fan of is Prime Predator, just because I've seen his athletes are so inspirational. Like I know a couple of them online, and they're just phenomenal elite power lifters, and you can tell by the work ethic that they're really going places, and that the coach really cares. You can see in the meets that the coach is always there, always on his athletes, and always pushing his athletes further. And so I look at that, and I see the passion of the coach, and I see the passion of the athletes of the coach, because it's infectious. Like with my coach, like he's very passionate, and so that passion like comes right to me. It's like I better be at his level. You know what I'm saying? Or else, what the fuck am I doing?
It's a good point.
I start in the same spot. I look at the athletes and I talk to the athletes, and I'll ask them, "Hey, what's your coaching experience like?" And I'll just kind of get a little bit of information ahead of time. And then two things happen. One, they go running to their coach and say, "Hey, Kevin was just talking to me, and he's thinking about getting a coach. He's going to go back into powerlifting, or going into bodybuilding." And because I try to treat everybody that I interact with respect, generally they're depicting me favorably. That person might reach out to me, or they're, at the very least, they're prepared when I reach out to them. What I'm looking for in that initial conversation is, can they articulate their method of training, and are they willing to, is it a my way or the highway kind of coaching? Because I don't care how good you are. One size does not fit all. And if you have a my way or the highway mentality, you are failing at least someone. You have said your perspective, your approach is more important than their success. And I personally think you fucking suck at everything if that's your mentality. That's just, I got strong feelings about it. So I might ask them a deeper question on something that they share to see if they can articulate it. A test. I don't mean any offense. And I might push back against an idea or suggest a wrinkle. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, just to see how they'll react to that, to see if they'll try and come up with a solution, or if they'll just flat out say, well, you're going to need to figure out how to do that, because this is the approach that we have to take. This is the one that really truly works. Because a good coach will flex to the situation. A good coach prioritizes the success of their athlete or their client before their personal feelings. And that doesn't mean coddle, but it does mean that they're willing to work with them. They're willing to describe, articulate, and build the value into their perspective, and they're willing to have their perspective challenged. And you can find out all of that from the first conversation with the person if you're just willing to ask questions and listen to what they say. It's very easy to fail that conversation, and a lot of folks who make a lot of money have failed that conversation.
That's a good one. I like that, because it's one of the things. Like when I'm actually, why I brought this up is I've used many different coaches. Oddly, amongst most lifters haven't, and I get a new coach every season, or I go back to old coaches or things like, and I go coach shopping, and I'll be doing it probably next year. So it's going to be what I look for is sort of an aggregate score of, do they have an education? They don't have to have any of these if their aggregate score warrants it. So do they have an education? Have they competed in what I want them to coach me in? Like as mentioned, I've taken bodybuilding coaches. I've done some different stuff, right? They don't have to be a superstar. They don't have to be Ed Cohen. They don't have to be that. They have to have done it, though. Because how can they coach me to compete if they don't know what it's like to have to be on the platform or how the sport works, right? So they don't have to be amazing. An education piece, a competition piece. One of the things that I'm a big believer on is, if a coach ever says to me, ever, that this is the only way to do something, or it's their way of the highway, I call them right immediately. You are full of goddamn shit and you're a charlatan, because we all know there is so many ways to skin this cat and get gains, that if they're just saying I'm full of shit when they say it is this way or nothing. So that's something I look for. I talk to their stable of lifters or look at the average success of, do they have success stories? Do they have top level guys? Or do they have success stories like, hey, a guy might have gone from morbidly obese to putting up a 300 Wilks at a powerlifting meet. That's fucking amazing. You know what I mean? That's as amazing as some guy putting up a 2K total, right? So like there's different kinds of success stories, right? And it's funny, like, because some people need a coach, you know, Norris, you need firm but kind, you need, you know, different things. And that's absolutely the case. I need a coach often sometimes to reel me back in a little bit. As mentioned with my David Goggins approach to training, not being the best way, right? But it's the education piece, the stable of lifters. And again, and Jack said it too, I look for how passionate they are. And I've hired rookie coaches and they've done wonders for me because they were so passionate. They wanted to learn. They were willing to go the extra mile, all that, right? And then the last thing I judge, and this is when I'm in negotiation parts of it, and this is because I'm a business person for my day. Are they on time? Did they meet their commitment to me? Are there, you know what I mean? Are they running their coaching like a proper business with customer service and being on time and all that? Like, I'm a busy person. I'm a master's lifter with a career. You said it, Jack. If I say our meeting is at 5 and they're 5:10, they do that twice, I'm firing them, man. And I'll tell them that straight up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, there's reasonable reasons. I'm making obvious over the top remarks here, but that they have to have business acumen. This is a business to them, and I am a customer, and I'm paying for their expertise, so I want it professional. And I do my best as a client. Take notes, be professional. I'm on time for the call too, or I have the spreadsheet printed or all that. But education piece, passion, stable of lifters, we all kind of got it. But I just wanted to say all this out loud and look at all these perspectives, because hopefully someone watches this video and goes, wow, that's how I'll pick a coach or hire one of you guys or something. Little advertising, you know, right? Not me, but you know, right? Good work on that one, boys. We hit everything on that I wanted to hit there.
I
Well,
love that you brought that point up specifically about, hey, you know, if they're consistently, you know, not showing up on time and not showing up the way that you need, that you'll fire them, because I think so many folks that do what me and Jack do forget we work for the clients.
Mhm.
Like, they come to us for knowledge, and oftentimes that's confused with this kind of deferent attitude. We're not fucking in charge. They're paying us for a service and we better provide. And if we don't provide, then we are failing flat out. So like when when I see a personal trainer or a coach saying, you know, screaming, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, give me this, give me that, motherfucker, it ain't about you. Like, you're not in charge. You are being paid for a service. You work for them. And I always remind whoever I take on as a paid client, it's like, hey, I work for you. We're gonna have mutual respect. But when I say that this is what you can expect from me, I need to deliver on that. And it's okay for you to say, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting what you told me you were going to give me, because I'll hold myself accountable. You can hold me accountable. And when you approach it that way, I think you have a good two-way communication relationship. Things work out. You get more buy-in from them. You get what you asked for from them. And it could be a healthy,
And
working
usually the way
relationship.
I handle it when clients come up to me and be like, "Hey, can we do this more, or can we do something like this?" You know, I'll be like, "Yeah, we can definitely explore that, but can we add this to it? Just because I want to, I want to actually, help you progress, and I want to, lock in something, that they need." And so I'll add something to it, and that's like a
It's
good
a two-way.
way to,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to meet in the middle. And sometimes they'll just be like, no, I just wanted to straight do that. And from then you can make the decision where, is this going to be a good relationship, or can we go through it and do what they want and see if it works.
good
That's a
point.
weird thing, just to throw this thought. I don't think everybody has to do this, but I don't work with people who only want to be told what to do. If you don't want to understand why you're doing it, I don't want to work with you. If you don't want to grow out of the need to have a coach like me, I don't want to work with you. And that's not for everybody. Some people just want somebody to guide them through it, walk them through it so they can go on auto and reach their goal. I'm not that guy. I want you to know how to feed yourself, exercise, and achieve this so that you don't need someone until you have a greater or a different goal the next time down the road. You should be, as a coach, training people to not need you, just like a teacher teaches their students to learn without them.
Good point. Well, my last question is before we wrap this up, because I know school about to start for Kevin.
Oh
It's
God,
almost
yeah.
powerlifting season, so this is probably our last conversation for a while. So what is next?
Well, we're
What's the next
preparing
goal?
for your competition in November. That's really as far forward as I'm planning anything.
Oh yeah, and I told you like after Vegas, I hope you can make it because I never want to go through that again by myself.
I got the
That is
vacation time set aside.
freaking chaos. So if you not showing, I ain't showing. It is chaos. It is chaos. It is chaos. I don't care if I gotta fly around or jacket. I'm never doing that by myself again.
I'll come to Vegas.
Never.
That's some shit, man. It is. It is. I get you.
But what's next for everybody else before we wrap this up? What's next?
I'm just doing
I'm
my
going
thing.
to go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry, Jack.
I'm just going to nationals in October. My coach Justin's going to be there with me, and yeah, I'm going to have a ball. I'm going to just do my best. Right now, I'm suffering through some hip pain because my hips aren't adjusted. So I'm going to a chiropractor once a week, and we're getting my hips loosened up and realigned. And so yeah, I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to try to put up big numbers, biggest numbers I've put up so far. I'd like to have as close to a 1300 as possible, but we'll see. Injuries bearing
Yeah.
how far I can go with that.
Nice. I'm going to be in Colombia pretty soon, as in Bogota, hanging out in the Andes, taking some time off.
Those women are beautiful, by the way.
I can't even pretend you didn't say that because I'm happily married and she's going to be standing beside me there, Jack. So you mean they're all horrible little short trolls? That's perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yes.
telling me
No
that.
problem. Sorry, I didn't elaborate
Not
that.
my experience. Bogota's great. Cartagena's great. You're in trouble.
After that, though, I get back. We have a show in Nanaimo, British Columbia in October. It's going to be our biggest show ever. So when I MC and do the powerlifting meets, we're going to have a strongman, CrossFit, powerlifting expo all in one big show in like a hockey arena. And we're sort of practicing this concept to bring the fitness culture, the physical culture a little more together. So hopefully we can pull this show off. I'm going to be on working the mic and doing all that one, so it's going to be fun. And then after that and during that, I disappear for a while. I have to myself before I compete or do anything. I got to finish I got to finish a degree so I'm going back to school at 46 years old, 47, to get my stockbroking license, and then doing that. And then other than that, this sounds terrible, I'm not quite done my Muay Thai cardio journey yet before I step back on a platform. So I've been running 5Ks. It's embarrassing to say. Instead of walking to the squat rack and saying cardio is a set of 6 or more, I'm running 5Ks. I'm dropping weight. I'm trying to get down to 200 even. And then maybe take a Muay Thai fight in the next year before I go back to powerlifting. I still want to win a world medal in powerlifting, or maybe when I hit 50, be the number one all time in my categories in Canadian history. So it's still there. But part of that for me was losing some weight, dropping some weight classes. And since cardio sucks so bad, Muay Thai is more fun. So I'm going to be hitting the books and hitting people in the face and getting punched out. So that's what I'm looking forward for the next 6 or 8 months.
I'm taking a long break. I started a medication. My wife and I are going to try and have a kid, so I can't tested for the next 3 years. That's where I prefer to compete. But I'm technically not natural on account of that. So I'm just in my mentor era right now. I'm going to bring and drag as many people as I can to their success stories, Norris among them. Do the biggest impact I can. I'm on a bodybuilding journey right now to demonstrate at 45 years old as a disabled person with, um, T levels that are like 550 now, so perfectly average. That you do not need to be on all the junk that these kids like Togi and Isaiah Miranda and all these other young kids are on to get a perfectly achievable mid build that they have, that they are destroying their young bodies. So that's the goal right now. Over the next several months, I'm going to be dropping weight, staying big as fuck, I'm 270 now, and I'm already starting to see some separation in my arms, and my abs are coming back. So these kids are screwed. Um, I'm fixing to show them that they are wasting their money, their time, and their health for no reason. That's my goal right now.
Good
But
goals. Well,
I am super interested in this thing that Ryan is doing. So, dude, I'm gonna hit you up after because I want to see how I can help.
that's what's up. Well, we all know I got something coming up, and then after that, I will go down to 100 kilo just to see at 46 if I can
Yeah. There you
qualify
go.
Yes,
for another nationals at 100 kilo at 46.
you're
Because
gonna do
by the
it.
time we get to
Yes,
by the time we get in November, I'm already at 233, so I should be around 220 ish.
You'll get there
But
easy. Easy.
we'll see, man. Sometimes eating this food is annoying, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. I will see you guys, I guess, sometime when things slow down for us all.
yes, sir.
Salute.
All right, guys,
Salute.
much love.
Love you guys.